All right, what's going on, everybody? Sorry, I planned on doing a few videos today, but I've had a crazy day, and if you guys can hear, um, I live in a very, very bad neighborhood. Let me just put it like that. And had a situation earlier in the subdivision that I live in. I stay on a cul-de-sac, and one of the neighbors decided to throw a whole block party without a city permit for her son's graduation. Now, mind you, her son isn't the only child that graduated, but everybody's paying the price for it in the neighborhood by having to hear all of this nonsense. And it's going on, 10 o'clock p.m. So I had to call the police because there was a fight earlier in this cul-de-sac on the street with one of the guests of the actual neighbor. I don't know. I don't know how the neighbor looks. I'm gonna be honest. Living in bad area, rough areas like this, I'm not trying to get to know some of these hoodlums. I just don't. But there was a fight that broke out earlier, and I was actually in the middle of recording my first video in my garage on my property because zoning permits. But I'll go out and I'm literally sitting in the garage, like I'm in my garage, and go step out and I see a fight going on. And people are trying to explain to me, oh, this person is drunk and belligerent, but then also has a hearing impairment. And they could not control her. They could not contain her. They could not get her to calm down or anything. Mind you, both of my neighbors have security cameras. So 2 different security camera footages record this entire fight going on that went on for at least 3 minutes. And the person that she was attacking was also recording her on her phone. So I'm standing here and I'm saying, I have my kids. I have the right to defend my territory and my home and my property. And I'm saying, listen, you guys need to get this under control because I don't put it past these people to have weapons at all. Like, I don't put it past them that someone in a group of what looked like 60 guests in a tight, small cul-de-sac where at least 30 cars were parked, double parked illegally, and a couple in front of my property because zoning permits. Literally, it was unbelievable. I don't put it past them that they could not have a weapon, and I conduct myself out here in this rough neighborhood that I utterly hate, because it's just a lot of ignorance and just immaturity in general, and anyone is capable of behaving in a ignorant manner. So they don't care about ordinances or anything like that, clearly. But this is what I had to deal with earlier today, and I'm sitting here like, I don't put it past these people to not have weapons. I don't put it past anyone to not have a weapon. I live in a state where you can get it that easily. So, a fight can escalate and turn into something worse. And because it was just uncontrollable, and on top of the fact that she was not, responding to any commands, they were trying to state that she had a hearing impairment. But then if you add on top of that an alcohol impairment, it's already affecting your cognitive functions. And now you're saying that she has a hearing impairment and she's deaf. So it's even harder to get her to calm down and to try to communicate to her to stop doing what she's doing. How would you think that would fare in court? Like, how would that fare in court? How would you defend that in court? If you went to court and you say, Your Honor, there's a fight that broke out, I called 911. Instead of these people trying to, okay, let's just get the situation under control because now it's in the street for all of the neighbors to see and hear, putting all of your neighbors at risk. They're sitting here trying to defend or get upset at me calling 911 when it got to a point where they couldn't stop it. After minutes of the fight going on. How would you think that would fare well in court if you stood in front of a judge and said, okay, yes, she was drunk and belligerent and uncontrollable and being physically violent and attacking people, but then she has a hearing impairment where she was not, I didn't see much sign language going on. Like I said, 2 neighbors were home security cameras recorded the entire thing. So it wouldn't be hard to prove that all of this was captured on a camera. All of it captured on 2 cameras. So there's plenty of video footage to prove that. But you clearly see this person is not responding to anything or anyone. And sometimes the alcohol makes you a little bit stronger and it brings out extra rage in you. She's running all over the place, all over the ground. She came onto my yard, put up one of my the cable line flags that surveyors have put in to indicate there's an active gas line or cable line or whatever here in the ground, and this is where it is. Pull that out of my yard and my property. And I'm standing here like, what is going on? Just get it under control. So because they couldn't do that, I had to call the police, and I stated that I would do that. These ignorant people say, I don't create no trouble. Let me explain something to you. They don't pay my bills, and I don't owe them anything. And like I stated, I will protect and defend my kids and my home and my property and my territory at all costs. Because if something happens to my children, because this fight got even more outrageous and out of control, they clearly have no respect for their neighbors or ordinances or laws or anything, or people's property, even though they don't pay their bills. Then how do you explain this to my family, to me, that something happened to my kids? A fight got out of control. People started shooting, and bullets don't have names on it. Bullets don't discriminate. How do you explain that? So this is stuff that I refuse to go back and forth. It was like 4 or 5 of them. First of all, I'm not going to go back and forth with you on something that I can literally prove. You literally would have a harder time trying to explain to a police officer why you allowed someone to remain at an event where they got into a physical altercation, they're drunk, uncontrollable, belligerent, and then you're saying they have a hearing impairment where they're not responding to any of your commands, where you're not able to control them whatsoever. How do you explain that to a judge in court? You won't be able to do that. And I think the homeowner called the police on me for calling the police on the fight. Because honestly, I would not have even cared about the double parking situation at all. Because I didn't even know they were having that until the fight broke out, which created a scene and the noise and the attention brought to it. And like I stated, living in a rough area of town, I don't put it past anyone to not have a weapon. And bullets don't discriminate. So I have no reason to trust that these people will not aggravate the situation to some level where it becomes extremely fatal even, because now people are being shot and hurt and killed. I mean, I don't put it past that. So why should I have to tolerate that nonsense going on like that when you're not able to control this person after minutes of them showing violent behavior and not responding to the people that she knows that is speaking sign language with her? First of all, it's hard to do that when the person is drunk. I mean, most people can't even walk in a straight line if they're completely drunk and belligerent. So how do you expect someone with a hearing impairment to respond to sign language if they're drunk and belligerent? Explain that to me. And to a judge or anyone that knows anything about the law, even a little bit. Explain that concept. How do you expect someone to respond to commands if people can't even walk in a straight line and they have excellent hearing when they're drunk and impaired? How do you expect them to respond if they have a hearing impairment where you have to speak sign language to them? alcohol already deters your cognitive thinking. So it had to be the dumbest, most ignorant thing ever witnessed to have someone say to me, don't cause trouble for calling 911 on this crazy fight that refuses to die down. But get mad at me for doing that and then calling 911 on me. I was like, okay, well, I'm waiting. Hopefully that'll bring them faster here. And of course the police shows up, and then he's like, well, you know, it's a city thing. And I'm like, well, I can just pull up the property zone and my property line. Done. But even for the street in this block party, so they have a city permit for that? They have a city permit. Because right now they're violating a noise ordinance. So I don't expect these people to really care about those things. But I don't want your nonsense spilling over into my property or near my property that could have a profound effect on my kids if one of you morons decide to pull out a weapon and shoot someone. Because bullets can't help where they go. They just don't. So what do you expect to happen if someone gets shot? They can't even cut down the noise after 10 p.m. So, like I said, rough neighborhood, and this cul-de-sac is probably the best kept cul-de-sac in this entire subdivision. I mean, at the very least, we all try to keep the grass cut. We try to keep the grass cut out here. And you can't dispute evidence with the camera footages on two different neighbors' homes. This is not even debate. I even had to tell the officer, that is my property. Well, that's the city. Oh, okay. So I can just pull up the zoning, and two, whatever part of the city, which is the street that they are having this whole block party on, and this fight, and all this nonsense, the double parking, all of that. Where's the city permit? What's the city permit? They don't have a city permit to have any of that going on. So how do they have the right to block up the entire street or any part of the city property with no permit? Either way, you lose at the end of the day. You don't have an argument. You don't have a legal defense. She's a homeowner out here. Guess what? The HOA could just have you evicted. It's a thing. They can do that. They can literally exercise the right to not only give you a violation. If you were to be, here's the thing, you're responsible for your guests. You're legally responsible for your guests. So if anything would happen, you were to get a lawsuit, you as a homeowner would be named in it because this was your event and you are responsible for your guests. And then if you had any violations, a ticket or anything given to you from the city, it will come to you as the homeowner because this is your event and you are responsible for your guests. Do I expect ignorant people to know that? No, I do not. But if the HOA wanted to intervene and really do something, they could. They could actually have them put out of here faster than going through the court with an eviction order. Should learn laws and legal knowledge and other information that could help you to avoid those situations. Because you would think you would not get, I don't even care they got mad at it. I literally said, if something happens to my kids, I will haunt this neighborhood for as long as it exists to the foundation. Because I am a mother. Talking about a mama bear. I would defend and protect my children at all costs. I even told the officer, I don't even care if something happens to me, but if something happens to my kids, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Do not piss me off and test that waters to find out. I guess they call themselves being intimidating or something. I don't know what's going on. I just don't like the ignorance and the buffoonery of it all because it's dumb. And Lord knows, oh man, once I get a job that's paying me enough money to be able to save and get the heck out of here, because I had a game plan in place, with buying a home in a better neighborhood, because Lord knows it's time, and give my children a better, security, and more yard space, and more property size. Because I want that for myself and my kids. I want that for them. I want to be able to have not just a home, but the property as well that the home sits on. As a matter of fact, I want to be at a point where the city has to come to me and ask me, is it okay if we have a block party? Because you own all of this, and we'll pay you for it. That's to the point I want to get with that. Yeah, so, but either way, that was my first part of my evening. But I plan on doing at least 2 or 3 reaction videos. I have the kids, so it's hard to do anything with them. I've been busy with my babies this week. Like I said, this neighbor is not the only one that had a kid graduate. My kid graduated from 8th grade, and I'm proud of him. And I took him out where I could have people there and have parking space for them, and a real event that does not cause a disdain or a strain on my neighbors, because I care about my neighbors and respect their privacy and their right to exist without my nonsense. Yeah, that's a thing. So I don't know how long this is gonna last. At some point, it's Memorial Day. I'm probably gonna hear some gunshots at some point tonight, because hood. But at the end of the day, I still wanted to do a video, because I have a video that I posted about, and it probably is going to be my last Novatech video, because all of the information that I have is being passed on. And, it's getting to a point with my channel. My channel was designed and created for music reactions, but it's hard to do that because of YouTube. And then you have just a lot of artists that are signed with record labels that they don't like music reactors. They don't. I mean, you have people that are on YouTube with channels dedicated to hating music reactors. I'm sorry, you all hate us. But I try to come from a musical perspective with the knowledge and education I have about music. And when I do a reaction, I'm doing reactions on artists that, are talented and just underrated, or they're newer artists and they just need that attention. They need that exposure. And, with the supporters that I have, I'm blessed to have a little over 20,000 supporters, which I was able to, be blessed to generate in 5 or 6 months before I went on that 7-month hiatus because of work. But, I was able to, with you guys' help and support, build that up within less than 6 months. That's a blessing to me. A lot of YouTubers do not have that opportunity, unless they get lucky and go viral, have that opportunity to be able to build the channel up doing music reactions. There are some reactors that just watch a video and not just in music, just any reactor. They watch a video and they just record themselves watching something. But there are some people who, like myself, I try to bring in some level of, musical knowledge and techniques vocally, and, to give my insight and input and opinion. And I think that's one of the reasons why people like watching music reactors. They like watching people's reactions to certain things. Me personally, I try to keep that element of surprise in and not listen to any of the music before I react to it. So when I give my reaction, it should be a pure reaction. It should not be, to me, something that just seems rehearsed. And no, my videos will not look like anyone else's. I will try to keep that homegrown, home feeling, that homely feel to it, because I don't have a studio. I don't have fancy equipment. And I honestly don't really want that. I want people to see any of my reaction videos and feel as if I am sitting in the living room with you, watching this video with you, or seeing something on TV with you, listening to the music with you, and just having a good time. And if you are familiar with Lady Luck Club, and if you've seen my videos, especially with me going to concerts and seeing a couple of these artists live, like Adam Lambert, and with my boys that I love, Home Free, you'll see that my response live is not any different than how I respond at home in my reaction videos, because that should be my pure reaction, right? But because YouTube is just locking down so hard on it, it is so difficult to just do music reactions. Many of them get blocked now. If they have a record label that the artist is signed with, they get blocked. You have few artists like Morissette that will share the ad revenue generated on your videos, but many of them do not even want reactors to even touch their videos. And it makes it very difficult. You know, if people are watching a reaction video, they're wanting to see that person's reaction and not necessarily just watch the video or hear the song itself. That kind of defeats the purpose of reaction channels. But I still believe that you should bring some information and insight into it that's different from someone else's channel. However, YouTube has so many blocks that they're putting in place. I mean, they're making it easy for people to just put in a copyright claim, and it's no copyright in the video, no copyrighted content in the video, and then that can just have your videos taken, and they only give you 7 days to either rectify the situation or to take down the video, or you get a strike, and then 3 strikes, they take down your whole channel, regardless of all the work you put into it. You know, the blessing of being able to just build it up from scratch. You know, it literally just, it defeats the purpose of that. All that hard work, and it takes time to do videos too, you guys. It does, especially when you have, you know, kids, and I'm a single parent, so it's just, you know, if I get a video done when my kids are home, trust me, it's well after 9 or 10 o'clock and they're in the bed. You know, sometimes later than that. So even now, like, you know, I'm in the garage and this nonsense is still going on outside, and I still have my kids in the house. But that's kind of the juggle with that. And it, like I said, it takes time to do this. However, I'm going to get back to it tomorrow, because I planned on doing, like I said, 2 or 3 videos today. But ignorance and stupidity and foolishness, you know, kind of wore me out. I mean, the cop did, you know, at the end of the day, kind of cleared the entire side of the street where my house is on. So, thank you, officer. Yeah. He wasn't too happy. Somebody got cussed out. So did I. Think I care? They don't pay my rent. I'm still waiting on that, you know, that city permit they had to hold hostage the entire cul-de-sac. Why? Like this here, noise violation. You waking up the whole neighborhood. Why? Why do we have to be subjected to that? Everybody don't listen to that crap. I don't even know what they're saying in that mumble rap. So dumb. But anyway. But yeah, so you can imagine me trying to do a music reaction right now in the garage, and then still have that going on. It would be annoying. So that's the thing. So I'm looking into other platforms to try to, you know, load my videos to. I know I did a video about another YouTube channel, Brad and Lexi. Is it Brad and Lex? Lex and Brad. It's a young couple. They have a beautiful baby, but they actually ended up having 2 strikes because of a record label that did not want anyone to react to their music. But there were other channels that reacted to their music. So there's no rhyme or reason to it. It doesn't matter if you pause the videos. Doesn't matter if you put a filter on it. Sometimes it's just simply having the music played that can cause your videos to be blocked. And if I have to sit and edit and filter it to the point where you can't see it, You can barely hear the whole song because I've chopped and trimmed it out so much. What's the point? That's just kind of my take on that. What's the point of doing a reaction video to music if you can't play the whole song, or you definitely can't play the video? Official music videos are a no-no in the Lady Luck Club, and because of that, any official music video, especially if they're contracted with a record label, I'm not touching it. If it's on a show, like I love Adam Lambert, and I love the fact that he is on these late night shows, but I cannot react to those videos the way I want to unless I'm listening to it in a car, and even then it has to be like really short because they block them. They block them just like they don't. It's not even a thought. They block it. So it's either filtered and trimmed to the point where you barely recognize it, or it's just blocked and you don't see it. And if it's shown, it's demonetized. So you still, and not taking a hit on many videos, and I don't have one of those channels where I have, I don't have 1 million supporters, or even 100,000, or even 50,000. I have a little over 20,000. So the ad revenue generated in my videos in the Lady Luck Club is not the level to where demonetization doesn't really matter. It doesn't really hit hard. I mean, I reacted to Adam Lambert's entire album, and I took the hit on every one of those songs because it was worth it to me. I wanted to react to the whole album. I even did a mini album review, but in that mini album review, because of all the darn editing that I hate doing, it took so much time. It took me about a week to put that video together, and it wasn't perfectly done, but it was me editing it. I don't have editors. I don't have any of that. I can't afford that. I don't even want to do that. But me editing that on my own, and I could not play any of the music like I wanted to in the actual mini film because of the restrictions, because of it being blocked. It would have been blocked. It would not have been monetized, and then parts of it would have been blocked. I still have, I think, 1 or 2 reaction videos that I did for Adam Lambert from his High Drama album that is still partially blocked. What do you do? He signed with a record label, but it's not always the artist that's doing it. It could be the publisher, the producers. It could be someone that owns the rights to it, and they just said, nope, any money that's made in this video is all mine and no one else's but mine. Not realizing that the ad revenue in these videos is like what? A dime per 1,000 views. This is real cheap. I mean, at best you earn $1 if you get 10 or 20,000 views. It's $1. What the hell you gonna do with $1? But they want their dollar, so whatever. But you can't really. I can't say that it's mine. I don't own the rights to it. I'm not even trying to. I don't take this approach that I own any music. Most reactors don't want to sit here and try to claim content that they know they didn't create. They're just reacting to it. And there are a lot of artists that have gotten exposure that they needed and deserved because of reaction channels. So, I mean, anybody you can hate whatever you want, but there are a lot of artists that can say, I've gotten a lot of exposure by having reactors listen to my music. Morissette being a prime example. She's one of my favorite female vocal artists out there. I mean, the girl can sing, but she got an award for one of the most reacted songs. One of reactors' favorite songs, a King Kanalong, on her channel, and I mean, well deserved. And it was on a bus. Yeah, she did the song on a bus. Think about that. But that I hope out of the stupid music in the background doesn't, because it's so dumb. I'm kind of glad it's like mumble rap, because if you were to hear parts of it, you'd be like, oh. I don't know if it's profanity. I don't know what it is they're saying. They could be saying a seance, an evil seance, and you would not know listening to that stupid music. So, but at the end of the day, this is why I listen to the music I listen to. This is why I try to put, as much put as much knowledge and information as I can that I know into it. And when I do my mini films, my mini album reviews, I do research and I look it up. So I'll like with Adam Lambert's album review that I did, I looked up the writers of those songs, the original artists, gave some background information on them. So even if I wasn't able to play the song in the actual mini film, I was able to give some background content and information that, maybe people didn't know. And if they did, now you get it all in one place, in one video. But that's kind of what, I wanted that to be a reflection of, just my love for Adam Lambert and his music, as well as the mini film that I did for Morissette and her album, her EP, signature EP. So, those are two that I've done. I'm still working on the one for Dimash. But because of the strikes and the blocks and the monetizations and just YouTube becoming more and more harsh to reactors, I had to bring in original content. And I've tried a few things, tried to do the Lady Auntie. That was pretty funny. I might pick that back up again. But I also wanted to talk about subjects that, that are of interest to me and hopefully helpful to others. Dealing with finance and reading about, laws, and then with Novatech being a Ponzi scheme that it is, being able to research that information and put that out there. You guys, I have to tell you, this is something that I've stated, in my earlier videos about Novatech. They tried to scam my mom, okay? And it took me a couple days to really convince her that this is a Ponzi scheme. I had to show her the information, of course, and ask questions for her to ask the two uplines that were trying to recruit her. But unfortunately, they did get about 4 or 5 of her friends. And one of them did help, give him some information on how to get his money back. But he had to go to his bank and file a fraud claim with his bank. So it wasn't necessarily a matter of, he just was able to get his money from Novatech. He had to go through that avenue. And sometimes information like that, those experiences, people use that to help them be able to make decisions if in the event they get scammed. Novatech is a Ponzi scheme by law. They violated securities laws. They failed to register and get licensed to be able to act as a hedge fund or a brokerage. That Hedion girl is not a stockbroker at all. And she never even took the test to be one or trader. They never had any license or registered traders doing anything. There's no proof of trading. And contrary to many people's popular belief, there are SEC registered and licensed crypto trading platforms in the United States of America. And I have literally mentioned 2 in a couple videos, one being eToro and another being Kraken. They just approved 4 more within the last week, 4 more companies that received SEC registrations and were approved to do crypto trading. So to say that the US is not crypto friendly is a lie. It's just a flat out lie. Because you have several companies. If you just do a simple Google search, some of you have, and you just want to, I guess, keep up this farce. But if you just do a Google search and look up SEC registered crypto companies or crypto trading platforms, you will get several options that are licensed and registered with the SEC. It's as simple as that. And the fact that too, with these cease orders, many of these promoters don't want to admit that they're promoters, which is crazy to me because they're willing to defend something but not actually go to the next step to say, yeah, I promoted it. But, whatever, because wire fraud. But they don't want to read the cease orders. They don't even want to mention words cease order. Only a few will. I will give credit. A couple of the channels that I've watched that have invested into Novatech, the Ponzi scheme, stated that, hey, here are the cease orders. I'm just reporting the news and the facts, which is what you should do, because it's a matter of integrity and ethics. And I think that there is a level of responsibility when you have a platform where more than 2 people are listening to you. Even if your supporters is 200 or 300, you have 200 or 300 people that are listening in. Now, whether all of them are humans or bots, can be debated all day or properly proven. I mean, IP addresses, that's the thing. Yeah, IP addresses. But either way, the idea and the concept that there are hundreds of people listening to you, watching your videos, even if they're not all subscribed, it gives credence for you to at least want to try to have integrity and be responsible for the information you put out there. When it was brought to my attention that the FBI does actually have a sort of like a forensic accountant division, I quickly corrected that and posted that information up, because I don't want people to say, well, you said that the FBI doesn't do audits, but they do. I want to make sure that all that information is out there. Some people will research and Google that, some won't. But I don't want there to be an issue where I put something out irresponsibly and did not try to correct it when someone brings it to my attention that, no, they actually have that. And once I Googled it and pulled it up and researched it, I put it out there. It's a matter of integrity. I'm not perfect, but I try my best to be accurate, because I can just read and Google it and share it. And that's something that some of these people with these channels, they don't think twice about. There's no reason to defend Novatech if you're not willing to say that you were a Novatech promoter. Then why defend it? No matter how much you hate laws or anything legal regarding Novatech in and of itself, because these same people would call 911 if they needed help, clearly. Whether the law always works in your behalf and to your benefit or not is irrelevant. And I can literally attest to that, because that happened to me today. The officer tried to get snippy with me, and I was like, well, it is either the double park, they have a permit, this is my property, because zoning, but you're going to have to handle this. I didn't call you all because of the park, I called you all because of the fight. Handle it. So it might not always be that positive response, but when he said, you know what, you guys need to double park, everybody clear this side of the street, park over there, they did it. And he came back, knocked on the door, and was like, we good? And I was like, yeah. I didn't even call for the parking issue. I called for the fight, because that could have escalated and went very, very wrong. And what would they have done other than try to say, oh, we have another shooting and issue that's happened, and oh man, I didn't even want to tell the operator what race they were when they asked me. I was like, they're brown. I said, it doesn't matter. I don't even want to say that, because they asked, are they African, are they black, white, or Hispanic? And I said brown, and I said, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter whether they're white or black or any of that, because I didn't want that to be an issue. So if I went out, and it's recorded in the call, it's not like something I can't make that up. The call can be retrieved, and you can. And I said, I hope that was recorded. And he was like, yeah, all of this is recorded. But I didn't even want to express the race of the individual, because I didn't want it to either be one or two things. They come out and be trigger happy, or they come out and they take forever, and then things go wrong, and then they come out too late because of that. So I never even wanted to give the race of the person. That is what I tried to do to help divert this situation from getting any dumber than it already was, and even more ignorant than it already was. And they still got upset because I called the cop, and I was like, whatever, call them again. I mean, 2 security home camera footages is enough evidence. I think, yeah, there will be enough evidence to take the court if I needed to. But yeah, kick rocks. So that, having experienced that with the law and knowing that it's not always a positive response is the point that I'm making. Being a Black woman, I don't want to race bait it, because it's not about race. Like I said, I did not want to give the race of the young lady that was fighting everybody, because I didn't want it to be about race. It's about this simple concept and the fact that there's a fight that has gotten the attention of the whole neighborhood and just been complete disruption, just like the Norris ordinance. But at the end of the day, even with that interaction, he came back and he said, asked if everything's all good. And I'm like, well, that's fine. But if they don't get the young lady home or get her some help and get her out of here, what's to stop her from starting another fight again? What's to stop her from doing that? That was the purpose of the call. So, you're not going to always have the best results and the positive results you want, even dealing with law and the law enforcement. But it doesn't stop the laws from existing. It just doesn't. It doesn't stop police officers from doing their jobs. It doesn't stop these government agencies from enforcing laws and doing their jobs. It doesn't stop any of that. You don't have to like the law or agree with it. And unless you're going to run for Congress and join the legislative branch of government and write new laws or change or amend the laws that's in place that best serves Americans, you can't just sit here and pretend they don't exist because you don't like it. That's not how it works. Laws are laws. They are in place for a reason. And they protect those that need the protection, especially from a Ponzi scheme. That's what some of these agents like the SEC and FINRA, that's what they're designed to do, to protect people from being scammed. What makes Novatech any different from any other crypto trading company that is SEC registered? They had 4.5 years, because everybody keeps throwing this around as if Bernie Madoff's Ponzi didn't last 20 plus years. What makes Novatech 4.5 years of running a Ponzi scheme different from having the opportunity and time to really getting things in order and doing things the right way? What gives them an exception to that? There's no exception for them. They had it really makes it worse. You had over 4 years to do things the right way, little girl. To get compliant, to register, to get licensed. And you failed to do it. 4 years to do things the right way, and you failed to do it, and you took millions of dollars from people, calling yourself a hedge fund or a brokerage in videos. You recorded yourself saying that because you're smart. But you told on yourself in videos, and you alleged this. And you knew you didn't have the credentials to do that. You didn't have the certifications, the registry, the licensures to act as a hedge fund or a trader or a brokerage or any of that for any asset. Even in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, they were supposed to have registered with any exchange commission with any country they did business with regarding digital assets to be compliant with St. Vincent and the Grenadines, according to their VABA Act of 2022. That is legally documented. That's not something I made up. That is the law in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, where they have their business license. They failed to be compliant. This is not anyone's fault but these peons. No one told you to run a Ponzi scheme. No one told you to violate whole laws. No one told you to do that. You did that on your own free will. And no one with a conscience, with integrity, and with ethics should ever defend anybody's wrongdoing. There are laws in place for a reason. Follow them. Or go run for Congress and help amend them and make them better. get over yourself. Here's the thing with my mom. When it took a couple days to convince her, and then after she realized, oh man, I told like 4 or 5 other people about this. And I mean, 2, 3 of them she grew up with, known for decades, that's caught in this. And one of them, he's only in it because his mother. Not very knowledgeable and well versed about crypto and even just SEC laws in general. And so you have a lot of people, they're proof. There are a lot of people out there that are victims and they're not very knowledgeable of it, but because you have these aggressive uplines that lied and just said, oh, this is what we do and this is how much money you make, and didn't bring in the part that they were not registered or licensed and that they were selling HYIPs, and they didn't mention any of that. They deceptively withheld information that people needed to know. They had no financial statements, no financial reports, nothing to prove that they were abiding by laws or any regulations of any sort, period. Nothing to prove anything in court to validate or legitimate them in any way. And people were pushing this nonsense out. And because they knew that they were talking to and targeting people who were financially, in restraints, or people who just understand Ponzi schemes and don't want to get in and get out of this, I guess, or people who probably would not have questioned it, and then they toyed with people's faith and religion. That's the disgusting part. You weaponize Christianity for this. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and then you still lose your family, your house, cars, your assets, all your money, everything you think you have, plus your soul? What does this gain you? You lose. You're not going to win in court. You don't know how many agencies is investigating this. There are plenty of case laws that literally have proven that crypto scammers have gone to prison and have had everything seized from them. And not just through the SEC, FBI, CIA, IRS. Multinational agencies investigating these crypto scams, U.S. versus Oasis International. That man is going in prison for 23 years. Federal prison for 23 years. Not jail, federal prison for 23 years. For a crypto scam. That's case law. You can look that up. And that's where he belongs. Because he stole millions of dollars from families and took that money out of their homes and out of their lives. People who needed that money to take care of their families. Military veterans that took money and invested it thinking that he was doing crypto trading, go figure. And he wasn't even licensed or registered to do it. This is my thing. And I put up a couple comments today for Bond because, I'm here for the hollering. But, there are a lot of things we disagree on. And there's some things that, it is what it is. Whether you're friendly to the laws or not does not cease them from existence. In the least bit. It doesn't mean that they don't exist. They're there. And the way I put it is that I told him, I said, these uplines aggressively, tried to recruit my mom and they got 5 of her friends. One of them I had to help, give information to help him retrieve his money by going through his bank's fraud department to do that. And he was able to prove that he lost this money to Novatech. And like I said, if you have proof that you've given money to this Ponzi scheme, e-wallet be damned, it doesn't matter. You file a complaint, you can get your money back, you can go, the bank's fraud department, that's exactly what he had to do. You can do a lawsuit. I mean, whether it's worth it or not, that's for you to determine. But no one should be telling anyone not to, report the Ponzi scheme, the fraudulent activity in and of itself. And no one should be defending it. No one. You have the opportunity each day that you live to correct any wrongdoing. The fact that they failed in 4 years to make anything right, to do anything the right way, speaks volumes. The fact that they had the opportunity to request hearings in all 3 cease orders including a video conference hearing in Canada that they were summoned to do, and they did not show. They alleged that they rejected the summons, but they didn't show up. They didn't try to defend or fight for this at all, to try to bring a shred of evidence to legitimize anything about Novatech. So they had opportunities to request hearings, opportunities to defend themselves, because that's how it works. You're giving 30 days to request a hearing to try to defend it, and they failed to do that. They didn't even request hearings. That's the first step you take to be able to try to defend and prove evidence that you're not a Ponzi scheme, because that burden of proof falls on Novatech. The agency can prove that they violated securities laws and wire fraud, probably money laundering, a little bit of that, embezzlement. The list can go on. But the government can make that case. They have to, the burden of proof is on them to prove their innocence, especially with the civil matter. They didn't do that. Why? If you're not doing anything wrong, fight for it. Defend yourself. Prove it with evidence. Go to the hearings. Request a hearing. They didn't do it. So getting back to the whole the issue with Oasis International, that multinational agency investigation that started back in 2018. It's 2023. And they got so much evidence and proof on that guy. They seized everything he had. They took houses, cars, money, gold bars, jewelry, anything that's valuable, and they recouped it and seized it. And that will go towards, they're either going to sell it out and cash it out and get the money to put into a victim's fund to give to the victims. But this guy's in jail for 23 years. And defending that would be just ridiculous. Like, defending Novatech is just ridiculous to me. You don't owe them anything. You don't owe them anything. And my mom's friend that had to go to his bank and the bank fraud department, they had to investigate his claim before they even gave him back his money. And they approved that claim to be for him to get his refund. That's almost like a 2-week process. I think it could take up to 3 weeks. But they had to investigate that before they just released funds to him. They didn't just give him his money back. And the fact that they invested it and then they approved for him to get his money back speaks volumes. Every bank has a fraud department. And they also file and forward charges to the courts within that district. So if there's evidence of bank fraud, or check fraud, and money laundering, anything like that, they will forward over charges and refer charges to the courts for the district attorneys or the U.S. attorneys to pursue. They will do that. They have the authority to do that. So they're not going to file the charges. They will forward the charges to the courts. And the courts, the prosecutors, the DAs, they will then file charges and do an indictment and serve that scammer. So you have so many ways that this can go. It doesn't make sense to defend it when the legal ramifications of this are just too great, a price that no one is willing to pay. And, with the other friends that my mom have that she knows, the people that are still caught in this Novatech thing, I've even tried to talk to one of them, and it's like their mind is so warped around this. I don't do confirmation bias. I don't even have a pretty way of saying half the things that I say. I'm gonna be honest. And it's difficult after so many years of fooling people into this Ponzi scheme to break them away from it. You have to remember, if this Ponzi scheme lasted for 4.5, 5 years almost, Bernie Madoff from the grave said, "Hold my beer," by the way, because his was over 20 and his 2 kids turned him in. But if this lasted over 4 years, you got to imagine how much more difficult it would be to try to persuade people, to try to influence them, to get them to understand the facts and the evidence that this is a Ponzi scheme. It might take just as long to mentally bring them out of that. And that's one of the things I told Vaughn. I said, these Ponzi schemes don't just, hook you in financially. The way they came about this with Novatech, they preyed on people's spirituality and religion. They hooked people in spiritually, mentally, and emotionally, not just financially. And it's done so much damage. It has destroyed relationships and friendships and people's finances. And that's what Ponzi schemes do. The loss of money and income. That's what it's going to do. It brings a strain on people. You cannot just lie to yourself and say that losing 20, 30, 50, 60,000 grand is okay and not a big deal. That's a lie from the pits of hell. I don't even know. Don't even tell yourself that. That's a flat out lie. No one is okay with losing money. I don't even want to lose $20. That's why I don't gamble. I don't. It's one of the reasons why I'm in finance and why I'm knowledgeable of it and I'm educated in it. And, you know, that's part of my career. This is what I do, is finance. And I don't gamble. It's easy for me in my position, in my perspective, to see that. But when you're trying to influence someone else about why you should not be putting money into a Ponzi scheme, that can be very cumbersome to do. It takes that research and having that knowledge and factual information, because even then, people will try to go against facts and evidence and laws and try to turn it into an opinion. The law and facts are not a matter of your opinion. It just isn't. If everything is farcical and debatable, then how do you legitimize anything? What makes anything concrete and solid if everything is just a matter of opinion? If laws and facts and evidence now is just all a matter of opinion, then what legitimizes or solidifies anything in existence at this point? We can't be that out of touch with reality where it's like utopia land 24/7. That is a mental hold on someone's mindset, for them to be that mentally trapped into a Ponzi scheme to think that even the law itself is a matter of opinion. That's not a defense in court. Neither is FUD. Why are grown people saying that? I don't. It sounds like something my kids were saying. They're 10 and 14. But my kids don't even use abbreviations like that. That's weird. But that's not a legal defense. And that's not how federal court hearings work. You can't go in there with that nonsense. And I said many people snap out of it that quick if they get caught up in this, legally. Because you can't go to court with that. Court is not a YouTube channel. It's not. Having criminal or civil, charges, or a lawsuit filed, you can't conduct that like like you're caught up, in a video on your YouTube channel. You can't do that. And it's one of the things I told Vaughn too. You don't have to defend the wrongdoing. You don't. You're either a victim or a perpetrator, but you can't be both. Pick one. You're either going to be a victim or you're going to be a perpetrator. Once you realize that this is truly a Ponzi scheme, there's enough evidence to prove it, and it's on Novatech to prove their innocence with that burden of proof, you can say it's a Ponzi scheme and I owe them nothing. I don't owe them any explanations. Novatech is not going to get me into heaven. These dumb petty-ons are not going to be able to speak on your behalf for you on Judgment Day. When you stand before God, you will stand alone. I mean, just from a spiritual aspect with that. But, financially speaking, they're not going to pay your bills. They're not going to pay your mortgage. They're not going to hire you an attorney. They're not going to make sure your kids have, college tuition. They're not going to personally give you all money they have access to and pay any of you back. Every Ponzi scheme does not rug pull the same way. There's precedents and case laws for that. This is where facts come into play. These are things I've said, before, but like I said, I'm going to be submitting off information and stuff. So I'm, this is my last video. But there's evidence and proof that, every Ponzi scheme does not collapse the same way. It doesn't rug pull the same way. Bernie Madoff's sons reported him and turned him in. They had enough integrity to say, even though this is my father, what he did was lied and stole money from people. for over 20 years. And they had enough integrity to say, we love you, Dad, but you're going to prison. And he did. So Oasis International, crypto scam with this guy's 23 years in federal prison. Laws don't go away because you don't like it. They are what they are. That you can't go to court and use FUD as a defense. You can't use anger and rage as a defense. It's not. That's not how cases work. It's not how hearings work. That's not how these federal investigations work. You never know who's listening and watching your videos and recording, and you never know. This was a multi-agency investigation with Oasis International. 3 full-fledged government agencies honed in on his butt. They got Al Capone on tax evasion. That man murdered people. You just can't escape the financial fraud, tax evasion. You can't escape none of that. Good luck to, listen, the SEC might pop you on the hands, but the IRS is going to whoop your ass. The IRS is going to whoop your butt. Let me not use profanity. I try my best not to do that. But yeah, the SEC, they might pop you on the hand. No, that's a no. Don't touch that. Like you with a baby. Oh, don't do that, baby. Don't do that. No, the IRS is coming with a belt. And putting some foots up some butts. That's how they gonna get you. The IRS is not for play. Like, nobody can escape them. It might suck. I ain't paying taxes, a lot of it, but it is what it is. It is what it is. And until tax laws change to where they work in the favor of people like me, lowly peasants who don't earn a lot of money, it is what it is. I can't just say I'm not paying taxes. Good luck evading that if you haven't paid taxes from all these so-called payments from Novatech, the Ponzi scheme. Good luck to that. Yeah, that should fare well for you. Don't act as if the information, Novatech is claiming that people were hacked. That their system was hacked. So all your private information and your names and stuff like that was somehow accessed. Don't y'all think that the IRS could get a copy of that? Don't you think the IRS could get a copy of any of that stuff? They can just subpoena it. Federal investigations, they can get a subpoena. They can get all that data they want. It's not an issue of the SEC, the IRS, the FBI, the CIA. It's not hard for them to get the subpoenas. Once they have the evidence to show the justification for the subpoena, they will get the subpoena. And they will get all those records. And all of those payments out that your e-wallet's logged that never goes away because those transactions are permanent. Good luck to that. Don't you think the IRS is going to see that? Yeah, good luck to that. They locked up Al Capone. He murdered people. Come on. It just is ridiculous. So the owner of Oasis International is now in prison for 23 years after a whole investigation that started back in 2018 and it's 2023. This is the information people need to know that people don't want to look up because people are afraid to face the fact that they were scammed. But you have to remember and never forget it. Anybody can be scammed. Anybody can fall victim to a scam. Now, I hope that anybody that's an attorney or in the legal field in any capacity is not still operating in Novatech. It's a Ponzi scheme. If you're still doing it, it's willingly, and you should have your bar license revoked from you. You should not be practicing law anywhere on earth. Not just in the state you're registered in. No, on earth, on the planet. No country should accept you as an attorney. Because this is obvious. The violation of the laws in and of itself makes it the Ponzi scheme that it is, along with the fact that they sell HYIPs, along with the fact that they lied and deceived people on them trading and what they were doing, along with the fact that they did not ever show evidence of it, along with the fact that they never even requested hearings in those 3 cease orders, and the fact that they never attended the hearings that they were summoned to attend to even show evidence that they actually are legitimate. And the fact that they didn't even register their crypto ATM machines. I mean, I was able to find that information in Google searches. I looked it up. It is what it is. It's just is what it is. They did not adhere to any laws in the U.S., Canada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I mean, that VABA Act of 2022 is a real document. You can look it up. I actually have it in a video. And it doesn't make it go away because you don't like it. It's here. It's to stay. And it's a way to keep people safe and protected from Ponzi schemes, from being defrauded. Because there are whole countries' economies that have collapsed because of Ponzi schemes. Who wants their whole country's economy to collapse because of a Ponzi scheme? Simple math says that even 40 or 50,000 people getting an inflated, made up APY of 156% per year. Think about it, 3 to 4% per week, even at the minimum of 3% times 52 weeks in a year. That's around 156% for 40,000 people for 4.5 years. That's the entire country's GDP. You really think that the U.S. is willing to give 20 or 30,000 people the entire GDP just so you all can make money with crypto? No, we're not. You can kick rocks. Because math, that's math. Math. Simple math. It's addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. You don't even have to do trigonometry for that. It's math. Just math. But that's the insanity of that. And because there are a lot of people that are going to feel stupid about being scammed. It's not a stupid issue. You were scammed, you were deceived, you were lied to. Some people got into it because of the spiritual aspect of it, or her proclaiming to be a reverend, a title that only shows up in the Bible once, and it referred to God himself, which you are not, little girl. Get over it. So a lot of people got into that because they were saying they were Christians. You guys realize that this little girl, the CEO here, she majored in psychology. She understands human behavior. That's something that I looked up. I just Googled it. Put 2 and 2 together. Yep. And if you understand the prerequisites of being a psych major, and you understand the education that goes behind it, this is what she's proclaiming now. I mean, you would have to contact the school she attended, the college she attended, to verify if she actually attended that. I'm sure that's going to come up in the investigation, but this is just basic research that I did on Google, and seeing that she stated that she majored in psychology and women's studies or something like that. And looking at the psychology aspect of it, that's the study of human behavior. So she knows what to say and do to get people's attention, to get people to align with her thinking and her mindset. And she knows exactly what to use to do that. And she knows, based on her audience and who she's targeting, religion might be the best way to do it. Targeting people who are in low income, just like she said in several videos. Think about this. I want to bring, money to areas in low income areas where people don't have access to money and be able to do trading and all this other stuff. And all her videos where she's given the concept of Novatech. That's a psych major at play. It's part of knowing human behavior. That's it. There's no magic to that. She may not even be a real Christian. She could be a Buddhist. Doesn't matter. She knows that using religion works. And it still does. How many cults have you seen that were based on religion? I mean, I literally call her the black female version of Jim Jones. And that was nothing but a religion based on cult. And people who were disenfranchised because of race or ethnicity or finances. They were socioeconomically disadvantaged. See, this is what happens when you read about the premise of people who have these, cult-like behaviors and cult-like mentalities and cult-like tendencies and understanding how they move and operate. It's part of knowing the people that you're dealing with. I don't want to say knowing your enemy, because I really care less about it, but just understanding why this Novatech thing even lasted as long as it did. It wasn't just about bringing in money to pay, old investors with new investors money, because she actually flipped that around. It was understanding the human behavior and understanding how people think, their mindsets, especially when they're in a tough situation financially, when they're socioeconomically disadvantaged, and knowing that religion always tends to pull on the heartstrings of those who are socioeconomically disadvantaged. Think about it. People go to faith when they're broke. It's just kind of, you can research that and look at the statistics on it, but that's the majority of people who rely and they lean heavily on their faith. They're not making loads of money. They're not millionaires like that. They're the ones that they're living check to check, working hard, paying taxes, and understanding the value of their dollar, wanting to do the right thing to take care of their families and their children and to pay their bills. The socioeconomically disadvantaged. They lean heavily into their faith, and she knows that. Psych majors. People don't think about that. It's not just investigating someone financially or legally. It's understanding why they're doing the things they're doing and saying the things that they say and how they move and what their next move will be. I literally said, I believe since I started reporting on Novatech that she is not in the United States. I've been saying that since the very beginning. Why would she be? You have offshore accounts that I know exist. So, your uplines don't know how to keep their mouths closed either, because they can't help themselves. It's evidenced by all these YouTube channels and videos that people do where they're glorifying Novatech. Y'all can't help yourselves. But that came straight from your dumb uplines that tried to recruit my mother because they're smart. Or not. I don't know. But, it is what it is. And it goes with the territory of these types of Ponzi schemes. There are always offshore accounts associated with the scammers. They want money that they can hide from people and the government. That's almost a standard. You just kind of expect that to be the case. How is she living and paying bills if she didn't have access to money? She would be homeless, right? She's not. There's no compound or people just taking care of her or housing her or anything like that. I highly doubt that she's got access to money. So this is understanding the psychology of someone like her and those who, perpetuate these scams like this on this grand level, especially when they last for years. I don't see this any differently than what Jim Jones did. He didn't trade, but he took people's assets and money and made them sign over the deeds to their homes and move them out of the country somewhere to a compound in a whole nother country, a whole nother continent. He went to South America, totally different continent. And unfortunately, that's where many of them took their last breath. And that's the understanding psychology of people like that. Being scammed is not a smart or dumb thing. If you understand what I just said and the mental aspect of that, you can understand how it's even the more not a matter of being dumb or smart. It's a matter of the persuasion, the power of persuasion. And it's statistically proven that women have a stronger influence, especially when they're weaponizing religion and Christianity to do so. They have a stronger power of persuasion. It is what it is. So when you think about all those factors and you do some research on it, there's statistics to prove that. Women, we're just more powerful with our words and our persuasion over people. I don't want anybody to think I'm just trying to persuade them. I want you to look at the facts and evidence and read. I want all of you to read some things. I always say that. And all that getting, read laws, read a book, just read. Get information. You can't have understanding without knowledge. And in order to have it, wisdom, you need the experiences and the understanding of the knowledge that you gained. Hallelujah. See, anybody come from a religious aspect, but it doesn't give you the right to take money. It doesn't give you the right to lie to people and deceive people. It doesn't give you the right to perpetuate a scam or even to defend it. It doesn't give you the right to do that whatsoever. And it should be a matter of integrity and ethics and character that keeps you from doing those things, some sort of conviction in you to say, I don't have to do this. There are a lot of soulless people out there, and I honestly, I've seen them in the comment sections, and it is what it is. You know, I don't necessarily, I can say at this point, I don't really make my videos for those who are just brainwashed into this cult, because that's how I see it, because of that mental aspect of it. But there are some who might be straddling the fence and saying, you know, oh man, if I had enough information, maybe I would, see the light of day or something, or just, someone just needing to hear, information or a message that might really get their attention. There are some people who have the ability to, emote and say certain things in a certain way where it's all pretty and dressed up. I don't. But I try to be as direct and honest as the information I find allows me to be. I mean, I basically share what I read and find and discover. And there's always, like I said, that opening for them to challenge the investigations and the accusations with evidence. They could have requested hearings. They could have, let's show the world that we are legitimate, and they didn't do it. Sometimes it's not what you do, it's what you don't do that makes the difference. It's what you don't say that makes the difference. That's logic. You can look that up as well, but that's just logic to me. That's wisdom and that's logic. It's what you don't say and don't do. And they fail to do the right thing. And whatever you do, let it be done in decency and in order. See, people, I didn't take her being a Christian seriously, because even the devil knows scripture. I mean, Satan was once an angel in heaven, got kicked out because he thought it was God. And God said, I ain't playing that. Get out of here. And he kicked him out in the end. That's pretty much how they go. You can read the Bible, though, to get more information. But that's, be careful of those deceivers that use the scriptures to try to deceive you, because they will. They will try. People will lie to you and try to get over on you. But having the law and having that information should, and like I said, Devon, even just the legal knowledge of it, help you to decipher whether something is fraudulent versus legitimate. It is a great deal of legal knowledge that you just should be familiar with to understand if you're being scammed or not. And because people keep claiming that crypto space is so difficult. The only difficulty about crypto is the servers, those algorithms that the servers create. The concept of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin is something you can just read and look up. And there are companies that are SEC registered. So you can't keep saying that the U.S. is not friendly to that, when there are several companies that are registered and licensed to operate in the United States of America. Because facts. So that's it is what it, like, that's not an exception. The devil is a liar. No. They could have done things the right way. And in 4 years, almost 5, like Dapolino, is it Dapolino? Dapolino? Dunbar said, for almost five years, they failed. You still failed to do things the right way. You still failed to get registered and licensed. And you still kept lying and perpetuating this as a hedge fund or a trader or a brokerage or whatever, all the other crap you kept saying that you were not licensed or registered to do. That's the bottom line to it. Get the knowledge and the education you need to help defend yourself, your finances, and your family, and protect yourselves. Because people don't think that they need to protect themselves financially, and you do. Safeguard your information. Guard it like you would your babies. I love my babies. I actually would protect my babies before my privacy, but I'm just saying, safeguard that as well, because your information and what you have is pretty much it. My mom had to get a whole new driver's license because of Novatech, by the way. A whole new driver's license, ID number, picture, everything. Because they did get her license. They tried to use it, and there's a section on the website where you can register as a business with Novatech. You got to show driver's license, proof that you are at least 50% owner of that business, and some other documents. So I guess those dumb uplines that tried to recruit her were trying to set her up as her own business entity or something like that. I don't know why, because she's not a business owner. But they got a copy of her driver's license, and when she had a ticket, it came in her address and somebody else's name, but her address and information connected to it. I said, see, I told you. And she went to the DMV, and she asked them, and they said to her, this happens all the time. People get a hold of information, other people's information. They use other people's information when they get a ticket, especially if they're driving without, driver's license ID. The girl got a ticket for that, but you could just give them an address, whatever. There's no concrete way to prove on the spot if you're in a traffic stop that you do or do not live at that address. They're just gonna take the address you give them. You get a ticket and they mail it. They're gonna mail it to the address you gave. The end. That's how, because laws. See, there's a law I don't like, but there are ways to fight that. She went to the DMV. She got a whole new driver's license ID and photo and everything, and reported that her information had been compromised. And that didn't happen until after they tried to get her information with uplines with Novatech and tried to sign her up for that. So all these years, she's had a driver's license and never had anything like that happen until Novatech, and then the end. So y'all might want to get some NordVPN and life locks and get your driver's license. You gave Novatech your driver's license and they're claiming they've been hacked. It wouldn't be hard to get your name and address from your driver's license. So get a new driver's license. Luck to that. And tell them it was compromised. And then take their false narrative about being hacked, which I don't think they were hacked, but you got a lot of con artists in Novatech too. So some people were honest about it. Some people were con artists about it. And it is what it is. And for those that, don't let this whole thing with Novatech, pull you into the point mentally where you can't come out of it financially and legally. You won't be able to really defend wire fraud like that when it's so blatant and brazen. I mean, your whole YouTube channel is evidence. So when you're called a promoter, you got to understand the definition of the term and how it's going to be used in court. The fact that you're bringing awareness to Novatech by making videos that people are watching, that's watching your videos, that it might be even subscribed to your channel, and you have this platform, you can't say that not one person that you put out these videos and you're talking about these, pump and dump schemes, in my personal opinion, but Novatech in particular too, that no one is going to listen and possibly register. That's why you put your link in the video descriptions or in the bio sections of your YouTube channel, right? For people to sign up, right? Isn't that why you're doing it? Why do a video if you don't want anyone to sign up? I don't understand that. What's the purpose? You're not going to do a video unless you don't think that someone will be influenced to sign up and register. That's why you're doing the video. Otherwise, why bring it up? I'm going to say Novatech is a Ponzi scheme because legally, based on the laws being violated and all of the infractions and the evidence so far, they're a Ponzi scheme. I mean, it is what it is. It's not even anything against MLMs or sales. That's a dumb concept. It doesn't make sense. I mean, being a person who is in finance and my career is in finance, I can't have anything against scams or MLMs. Personally, would I go out and be a salesman? No, I wouldn't, because I'm too blunt for that. And I don't buy something I don't need. So you got to sit here and play mental games with people to try to get them to realize that whatever you're selling them, they need it. And unless for me, it's like housing or utilities or insurance, food, clothes for my children, the necessities of life. Unless I want it, I'm not going to buy it. And there's nothing you can say to get me to do that. Then it could be my stubbornness or whatever, but that's me safeguarding myself and protecting myself financially. But I don't like going to malls. I don't like just shopping just for the heck of it. So I'm not going to buy something I don't need. So I'm definitely not going to invest into something that, to me, I'm saying you're not even following securities laws to even exist. And I'm certainly not going to sell something to someone that's not an actual necessity. If you don't need it, I agree with the concept that don't buy what you don't need. How about that? You keep saying don't put money in a Ponzi scheme you can't afford to lose, but who can afford to lose any money? I mean, these are the same people that talk about inflations and, how much it costs to get gas and food. Okay, well, no one is going to invest anything unless they know they're going to get a profit out of it, right? Because that's how it works. You're not going to put money up into something that's not a direct necessity. If it's not like a light bill, gas bill, water bill, or rent, I'm not going to put money into. My kids have 429 accounts, for education. I haven't put money into that since I lost my job. I can't afford to do that because I have to pay the light bill. It's just logic. So you're not going to invest if you're not able to financially do it. And you need people to have regular jobs outside of MLMs and pump and dump schemes and sales and all that other stuff to actually invest, to keep that market thriving and ongoing. If no one has money to invest, they're not going to invest. That's just how it is. The end. I don't know anyone that's going to put money into an IRA and they don't have a job, or they don't have money to put into an IRA and they're struggling to pay rent. How does that make sense? So the aspect of sales and MLMs is only viable when you have people that are willing to expend that money to put into that MLM or that investment, or to buy whatever you're selling them, especially when it's not a direct necessity. You working at the power company or the gas company or the water and sewage company, people need those utilities to survive. You're not selling them anything. That's something they're going to directly need on their own for survival. People don't need to put money into Live Good if they don't need the products, if they can barely buy food. With the inflation, And I honestly, personally think, being a pre-med biology major, that stuff is not even approved by the FDA. And unless you're growing your own food or you got chickens in the back, and you know how you're raising and feeding those chickens. I mean, is anything really safe? But you certainly, if something happens and it's FDA approved, I can sue the FDA. Who you gonna sue if you get sick or you end up in some real, physiological issues or health issues taking something called Live Good? How is that different from Herbalife? Ugh. Anyway, me trying to sell that would be futile. I wouldn't be able to sell any of that because I don't know anybody that will buy it, because most people I know right now don't have money to put into that. They need to just buy meat and produce at the store and milk and eggs, like the basics. And I'm not going to sell something that I don't really see as a necessity. It's a necessity to have food. Can we all stand to eat better? Yeah, we can. But you're going to get what you can afford to get. That's it. That's how that works. So, I encourage you all, like I said, you either want to be a victim or a perpetrator of this nonsense with Novatech. Just be honest about it. Don't defend any wrongdoing. Those two boys, the sons of Bernie Madoff, both of them are passed on, actually. But one of them self-harmed him. He took his life, and it was horrible. And that's the fear I have, for a lot of people in Novatech. I don't want anyone to harm themselves or others because they lost money to a Ponzi scheme, when they're not even being encouraged, to report fraudulent activity to the SEC. You don't need to get an attorney to report fraud to the SEC. That's not, you don't need an attorney for that. It's not going to cost you anything to do that. And yeah, they will try to help you recover your funds. The disgorgement, fair funds, receiverships, those things that are set up are not strictly from what they seize from the scammers. Some of the money comes from federal funding. Some of it comes from private funding. The victims' funds for Bernie Madoff's Ponzi scheme just received an additional, and I reported on it. It's over $550 million. Total, they have amassed $4.09 billion. All of that is not from what they took from Bernie Madoff. Most of that money is probably between private investors that contributed to those victims' funds and federal funding. So if the government can bail out a dumb bank because they make dumb decisions, I mean, I don't always agree with that, but they can help fellow American citizens that's been scammed from a Ponzi scheme. That's how that goes. That is something you can read and research on the SEC, case laws, and how other cases, especially with crypto scams, have been adjudicated, and how these, fair funds and these victim funds have been set up and established, and where the money is coming from. All of that can be researched. So it's not just a one-to-one scenario. Each of those case laws are not even adjudicated the same way, because there's some factors that can make it different. Just like every Ponzi scheme does not collapse the same way. Like I said, Bernie Madoff said, hold my beer. You all talking about 4.5, 5 years. It was over 20 years. And no, it was not involved in crypto, but it was still a Ponzi scheme. And it lasted over 20 years. And his kids turned him in. When he told them, I've been running a scam, they reported him. They was like, oh, no. And there are a lot of people that may not be able to handle the concept in the news of being told they've been scammed, they've lost their money. Especially if you're talking about thousands of dollars. And that's something I, told my mom to caution herself with, even with the people she know that's still got money caught up in this Novatech nonsense. I have to tell her, be careful who you are around. especially when they find out that they're not going to get their money back from Novatech because it's a Ponzi scheme. And the reality of that situation hits them. Everybody's not going to take that the same way. Everybody's not going to take that the same way at all. And my fear, as I told her, was someone getting to a point where they just can't contain themselves and they do something that could be very dangerous to yourself or to themselves. And you just so happen to be a person in the room. That's my fear. And I told her, if you think that this is the news that they're receiving and how this is going down, and they find out the hard way, they ask you, come over, you want to go be by their side, just think twice about it. Even pray about it. Just be cautious, because you don't know how people are going to accept and digest that. I hate the thought of, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like the worst case scenario of what I've experienced. I hate the thought of something happening to my kids and I can't be there to protect them. That scares me to my core, to my very core. Now imagine someone invested $40,000, $50,000 into what they thought was a viable investment, dealing with something new that they're probably not very knowledgeable of, or just didn't very much understand, or just deceived like hell, to get this money out of them. And then they're told, well, this company you put $50,000 in or $60,000 in is a Ponzi scheme. It should have never existed in the first place. And they're thinking to themselves, oh my God, that's money I have been saving for 20 years from working to put my kids in college, to, pay off bills, debt. I pulled that equity out of my home. I pulled that out of my savings or my retirement. And now they're told they're not going to see that money. How would you react, really? And have a conscience when you think about that answer. Be empathetic for 10 seconds, 16 seconds of empathy. Go. And put yourself in their shoes. Some people do this stuff for fun with these pump and dump schemes. I'm calling it what it is, because that's what it is. Most people aren't going to admit to that, but that's what it is. Pump and dump schemes. You get in to something. It's almost like the crypto version of an IPO. It may not be made to the public yet, but you can buy in as much as you can. You get the value of it inflated and then sell it off, and then you get this profit. There are a lot of people that have to lose a lot of money for you to gain a lot. Period. If that eats your conscience up, it should. Hopefully that's an indication you still have a soul. Was it profit a man to gain the whole world and you lose it? So if that eats at your conscience, may it do that if that's what it needs to happen for you to understand that that is just wrong and illegal. I will not bite my tongue with that. I refuse to do it, because I think about those people that are true victims and were not knowledgeable and they were deceived like hell. They came into this because of the spiritual, religious aspect of it. Because someone understood human behavior and knew what to say and do, and understood the power of her persuasion, and lied and never corrected their wrongdoing, never corrected the various laws being violated by not registering, and constantly telling people that they were trading on their behalf, that they had people that are traders. No one's licensed or registered. You don't even have proof that you had a staff on salary, on payroll. Those lies only get you so far. And it got them as far as they are. And now, I did say in one of my videos, you quoting part of the Miranda rights law, because that's a law. EOJ, that's a law. Miranda's rights. Yeah, that's a thing. You can read that. That someone should probably reserve the right to remain silent. Same thing the attorney probably told her, if she has one. Which I'm starting to believe she doesn't, because they can't afford it. But maybe she does. I don't know. At this point, it doesn't even matter. But she actually did that. And I knew that was going to happen. Understanding human behavior. Understanding how they move. Understanding they have access to money somewhere. And they're living and eating. They're not struggling to pay a light bill, water bill, or rent, or anything. So, everybody's not going to take the news well. But I think it's disingenuous, and it's a complete disservice to those who are, and I know this video was pretty lengthy. I talked about a whole lot. But like I said, it is my last Novatech video at this point. But, everybody's not going to take the news well. Everybody's not going to digest this well. Everybody's not going to really, absorb this the way you think they should, because the realization of this being a Ponzi scheme and it coming down legally hard is becoming a very real scenario. But that's the reality of it. That's why we have laws. That's why we have agencies, albeit that don't always do what we agree or like. They have those laws and regulations in place to still try to help protect the public. And you still have an avenue to report fraud. You have plenty of case laws that prove that crypto scammers are going to prison. They're being investigated. You never know who's listening, who's watching. You never know who's reporting what. It does not benefit or behoove anyone to keep defending this. It certainly does not benefit or behoove anyone to put themselves at risk of committing wire fraud to promote a scam that is no longer allowed to do any business of any sort in the United States of America or Canada. St. Vincent and the Grenadines probably going to come down hard too, because they violated a whole law down there as well. But that's when you have that knowledge and understanding of that, then you know, okay, these are the laws they're breaking. And because I don't like the laws, I can't wish them away. They're here, and it is what it is. Like I said, I don't always agree with the IRS stuff, but it is what it is. You got to pay taxes. Got to pay taxes. So, no one is perfect, but when you realize that there's an opportunity to right some wrongs and to do some things for the common good of those who still have a soul and a conscience, and for those who are looking for help, do the right thing. Period. Do the right thing. Report this. Do it anonymously. You don't want to give your name and information? Don't. Nobody's forcing you to do that. Think about those who might not take this too well. I don't know if anybody should be sleeping well knowing that they've been scamming people and taking money from people and trying to defend something that is so cultish, it's disgusting and disturbing in so many ways. And you have to be patient with those that, many of you probably tried to warn family and friends. Hey, this is a scam. You might not want to do this. Because, like I said, it took 4 years, 4.5, 5 years in the making of this nonsense. It might take a minute to come out of it. I would hate for a harsh reality check for someone to have to go through, like, criminal litigations to be the thing that snaps them out of it. But, wire fraud is wire fraud, and it's easily proven. And you should not want to go through that. You should not want to have to defend that. Don't let that be, don't take offense to that. Learn from it and just do better and stop doing it. That's it. Just stop doing it. You know how many people get in a video and they say, you know what, I messed up with this. I should not have said this or did that. I'm going to correct this. I'm going to, give information. The people who are being intimidated so bad that they don't even want to tell people that they could be getting helped and getting refunded because of the intimidation factor in this. You have nothing to lose if you get your money back. What do you have to lose? They weren't hacked. And if they were, then that means they didn't have what? SSL certificates that are not self-signed, because I looked that up and that's proven. So that CA, that licensing authority that validates that, they don't have that. So if they were hacked, it's their fault for not making sure that their SSL certificate was signed. Why would you not do that? What sense does that make? You say you were hacked, but then you failed to do all that you could to bring in the extra precautions and the SSL encryption to make sure that your certificates are self-signed. At this point, they probably don't care. It is what it is. But to say that you were hacked when you left your systems vulnerable to a hacking, it's your fault. It's just your fault. Do better. Don't defend it. Just do better. Make it right. Same thing to the promoters out here. You gushing over Novatech. Make it right. Just stop. Some of you are so young. You got your whole lives ahead. It doesn't make sense. Just do better. Live good. You might want to look that up and research those products, because it's just a derivative of Herbalife. And look what they went through. You guys don't even know where that stuff is being distributed from. I mean, my God. Honestly, at this point, you'd be better off growing your own produce. Grow your own fruits and vegetables. I mean, grow what you can, because you know what's in that. You can at least try to even research the fertilizer you use and grow your own food. It might come down to that. People might not be able to afford to really buy stuff anymore. They have to grow it. God. But I'm not out of reality to where I'm so on the side of legalities where I can't be humane about things and just understand logic and things. It's come on. It still doesn't make sense to sit here and defend a Ponzi scheme. It doesn't. And let Oasis International be hopefully a guide to understanding that as long as it took that case to go through, they did their due diligence. 3 government agencies did their due diligence, and they took this guy down. And now he's in prison for 23 years. Thank you, Jesus. I can't stand the scams. I can't stand the Ponzi schemes, because it does hurt us financially as individuals, as fellow Americans, and as a country. It actually hurts us in our economy, because you have to think about too, like I said, the federal government funding that goes into these receiverships and fair funds and disgorgements. Money is coming out of the economy, taxpayers' dollars, to try to help our fellow Americans recover from Ponzi schemes. But if they can bail out a stupid bank, like I said, yeah, you should bail out Americans that have been scammed out of money from a dumb Ponzi scheme. And your e-wallet is irrelevant to that. I don't know why anybody would send me that comment. Y'all know I kill it in the comments, so I don't even know how the stuff y'all send to me come my way, because I'm gonna defend myself if I don't see it, if I have not responded because I haven't seen your comment. But when I do, come on. Come on. So, Chabu, e-wallets are irrelevant. You give your money up. You give your money to a company that should have, I'm not even going to call it a company, to a Ponzi scheme that should have never existed. If I create a bank, it's a fake bank, and then I tell people, I have my own bank. I'm a CEO of a bank. I'm not licensed or registered to operate as a financial institution. It's the same comment that I put in Vaughn's video. And I said, think about it like this. And I get people to deposit their money into a fake bank that I'm telling people I am the CEO of. And then I tell people that I'm going to give them some inflated interest rate that's beyond the national cap. So the national cap for the interest rates, like around 6%, 7%. I tell someone I'm going to give them back 15% ROI to each depositor. They put their money into my fake bank that I'm not licensed or registered to own or operate. And then tell them, hey, I typed up this lengthy, stupid document that says that if you put your money in my bank, my fake bank, that should not operate and be open in the first place, you're going to lose all your money, probably. Most likely, you will. That's bank fraud. It's not a matter of, you knew the conditions before you put your money in it. No, it's bank fraud because I lied and told people that I am a CEO of a bank that shouldn't have never been opened because I was never licensed or registered to have a financial institution operating in the United States of America. Because there are laws that says that there are some things you have to go through to register and be licensed to have a bank. There are a few agencies you got to get clearance with to have a bank. So, partnering with FDIC, I'm lying and telling people I got all this in place and I don't. The simple fact that I lied and said that I'm the CEO of a bank and I have a bank that I own and operate and I have no licensures or registrations to verify and authenticate that in and of itself is the fraud. I lied and told people I have a bank that I should not be even saying that I have. And now I got people putting money in it and promising them ROIs that it's just not even sustainable because there's a reason we have a cap. Because you can't take the entire country's GDP with your nonsense. Because math. But yet, here I am taking people's money and telling them they're going to get 15% ROI every year on their deposits. When I should not even be telling people I have a bank. That is the same thing with Novatech. They should not have ever existed without having the proper registration and the licensures because there are crypto companies and trading platforms that are registered. So kill that nonsense. That's dumb. It's dumb. You can literally Google that. It's not about not understanding crypto. It's just the fact that they didn't register and they had 4.5, almost 5 years to do that, to get things right and to defend it, to defend its legitimacy, to try to defend how they may be compliant with securities laws, but they didn't do it. They just didn't. And the same way I should not be the CEO of a darn bank without being licensed and registered to do so, it's the same way this little girl should not have been telling people that she was a registered licensed stockbroker with a trading firm, investment firm, or brokerage of any sort to trade, sell, or exchange any assets. Security assets, commodities, however you want to call it, investment contracts, without it being registered. The many laws being violated with that, including the one in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Kick rocks, Novatech. All right, I'm done. It's almost 2 hours in this. I hope you guys, my last Novatech video, and I really hope, my last Novatech Rant video, let me say that, because our video I posted up earlier today where I put more information out there that I Googled and researched and put together, and that's that. And anybody can file a complaint or tip or join this whistleblower program. You don't owe Novatech anything. No one owes them any loyalty whatsoever. If it's strictly business, it's business. If you did this strictly just because you thought it was, and you were told that this is an investment company, just like with a bank account. If somebody goes and withdraws their bank from Chase Bank, who am I to get upset about that? It's all right to do that. The bank should have the money to cover what these depositors put into it. They want to pull it out, they can pull it out. There should only be a certain percentage of business you're doing with people's money anyway. And that should be clearly stated. Even for an investment firm. But when you should not exist in the first place, your stupid comp plan and your fake, copyright, privacy, whatever nonsense you typed up with horrible spelling errors is null and void. Because you should not even exist. You're definitely not legitimate. And you're violating many, many laws to do all the stealing and the lying and the deception that you're doing. And you knew what you were doing, little girl, because you understand human behavior. You're not that dumb. I don't know if you want people to think you are, but you ain't. I'm not going to give you any benefit of the doubt because I don't owe you that. No one does. No one owes you anything. You're not God. You're a mere mortal that told people lies. Ponzi scheme number 2 collapsing for you. And it's like you ain't learned nothing. So kick rocks, Novatech. And I hope all those who want help in getting their money back, that you get it back. I hope that you report this fraud. And I hope that you guys protect yourself. And all that getting, read laws, get some knowledge, research. Most times people are, I'm not going to say most times, but statistics have shown that over 50% of people who are scammed once are easily scammed again and again. Don't let this keep happening to you and your family, because you don't owe anybody your hard-earned money. You don't owe any of these promoters of any of these schemes or whatever. You don't owe them anything. If you don't think that it's right, or if it doesn't sound right, it's not. And if you're not sure, read and research and look it up. But you don't owe anybody anything. No one owes her anything. No one owes Novatech anything. This is not a church. It acts like a cult, and it's ridiculous. And many lives have been hurt, and there are more people that are just going to be in for a harsh and rude awakening. And it's not fair to them, because they may not have known a lot about what was going on, especially if you're being lied to and deceived to the point where, some people weren't even Googling things. They were just calling their uplines, and the uplines were lying to them. Some of the uplines were honest. There are a couple of you out here on YouTube with videos that are very honest. And one even that I came across helped him and his whole downline, his whole team, get their money back. Do that. What's so hard about that? Follow his footsteps in that. And if you know that, okay, I might not be able to give everybody their money back, let me help however I can. Do that. But don't keep stringing people along in this stupidity. It doesn't make sense. And you put yourself at risk legally, and even with civil litigations for nothing. Because Novatech is not going to be there to defend you in court. They're not going to get you an attorney. They're not going to care. They're not. Y'all know nobody don't even know where they are, and it is whatever it is. And the United States has a bilateral cooperation with the UAE. I mean, that was signed last year, February of 2022. Yeah, no, we have a cooperation with them. So they can be extradited. That's on the Department of Justice website. And all that getting, read and research. You can look that up. So I don't know why people are still saying there's no extradition between the UAE and the US. That's a lie. That's on the Department of Justice website. Google it. Hell, I put that document in 2 different videos. I don't understand that. But Google it. Fact check me. It's on the Department of Justice website. We have a bilateral cooperation. Because I'm sure that UAE doesn't want their nonsense in their country either, tearing up their economy. Because that's what these Ponzi schemes do. So, last Novatech video. You guys be safe. Take care of yourselves. And until the next reaction video that I do. Deuces.